All right. Hello, everyone. My name's Annette. I am known as Nettersplays, and I have a few people here with us, and we're all going to talk about our favorite games of 2017. So if you can just slightly introduce yourself and let us know who you are, and also just let us know what your favorite recent game is. Just shoot it out there. Okay, so we'll start with Caryl.
Oh, hello. I'm Caryl. You can find me on Twitter as Caryl Has No Tan and on Instagram. But, it's so much pressure. Raiders of the North Sea would be the most recent game that I really like playing. And,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, I just kind of threw you guys off because I just added that. So what about you, Eric?
Ooh, good question. Let me see here. It's going to be one of the BGG games that I picked up. I think it's Mystery of the Temples.
Okay.
So an Emperor S4 game. Really like it. It's got a nice, like the art's super nice. I forgot to introduce myself, so I'm going to do that now. My name's Eric. I'm What's Eric Playing on Instagram, the internet, and What's E Playing on Twitter due to Twitter username character limits.
All right, and Mandi.
So hey everyone, I'm Mandi. Don't mind the hair. I'm going for like the 80s Madonna look. This is like halfway through my hair regimen because I wanted to chat with all of you. So this is what you're getting this morning. But if you probably know me from the Dice Tower, I do the podcast every 2 weeks with Suzanne Sheldon. I also have To Die For Games that I do video reviews with Caryl, do these chats with some fun people like Eric and Annette. And I am all over social media because I'm just can't get off. So I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr. I think I'm on everything under Board Gaming Pinup Girl. Oh yeah, and Twitch too. So there you go. Oh, and game. Oh, I just played Keeper recently. What?
Oh,
I like it.
I've been
A lot.
wanting to play that one. Okay.
Yeah, it's one I kind of just was like, yeah, I have Keyflower. It's cool. I like it. But then I was like, oh, hello. It's like I get this one. It's kind of expensive. So, I picked it up, see how it is. I love it. Like I actually really, really like it. So if you haven't tried it, something you should all check out.
Okay, cool. And again, my name's Annette, Nettersplays. I'm just all over the internet. You can find me on my YouTube channel. And today we're doing it on To Die For Games channel because you're back live. And one of my favorite games that I've recently played was Tybor the Builder. I've been playing the heck out of that card game. So yeah. So we're going to talk about our favorite 2017 games. It's all categorized. So we have different categories of games. And so it's not a top 10 list. It's just our favorite of, say, our favorite family weight game or stuff like that. So the first category is, let's see, is our favorite new to me game. So it's a game that hasn't recently come out. It came out a couple years ago, but it's a game you just played in 2017. So we'll start with myself, and I'll say my favorite game that I played last year was Iki. And I'm not sure if you've heard of Iki before. It's a Japanese themed game where you basically play in these Edo, like the Edo period in Japan, where you have all these different occupations. And the cool thing is that you're hiring these people to have a marketplace in your downtown area. But in order to take these people or these cards, you have to put a token on your play order. So say if you're going to be first to draw a card, well, the distance you go in the marketplace is only one away. But if you go last, you have up to 4 steps that you can take. So you're playing with not only your order, but like the order of picking up the cards and the distance you're traveling. So it's a really interesting game. I recommend it if you can find it. I think I bought it like in an auction. It kind of cost a bit, but definitely worth the buy. Iki.
Do you remember the publisher?
It's a Japanese publisher.
Oh, okay, super.
Yeah, it's right here. It's
Perfectly behind you.
I know, right?
It's Utisori. Utisori.
Okay, I don't know who that is.
So yeah, it's a game that I don't think was brought into the States. It was an old Kickstarter and they didn't publish it afterwards. So there's limited quantities. So if you find it online, buy it.
Very cool.
Yeah. So next is Eric. So what is your favorite new to you game?
Good question. I'm terrible at making single decisions, so I'll pick two.
Okay.
One of the ones that I really enjoyed was we picked up Maskmen finally, and I mean it's a game about luchadors. Everything's better with luchadors. My manager at work and I got really into it, and he built an app for it so we could do the ordering of the. Basically, it's a ladder building game where you're trying to order luchadors and sort of strongest to weakest. He built an app to do that part so we could just play with the cards on airplanes while we were doing business trips. Really specific example. But I also finally got into King Domino this year, or
Okay.
really enjoyed it. It's just solid game. I recommend it to a lot of people. I mean, skill de jars, so makes sense.
Yeah. And it seems so recent, but it came out like in 2016 and then the Queen Domino too. So
Mhm.
yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And next is Caryl. So what's your favorite new to you game?
Okay, so I don't know when this came out. I feel like saying 2013, but the best new to me game I played was Rock Paper Wizard. So
Okay.
it's by WizKids, and it's like the idea of like rock paper scissors, but instead of that, you have a line of spells that you could do, and like there are all these like different hand symbols where like to like do this, like do this, and then it like does different spells to players around you because you're trying to run to like this treasure hoard, and the person closest gets like a high payout, and then people get like pushed back. So it's about like swapping positions. It's about pushing people back, and then it's really wacky because you can have something to, like target you, and like everyone's like, oh, rock paper wizard, and all their things happen, and then everyone targets one person, and I don't know, it's just so much fun, and it's such a good filler game that's like a gamer kind of filler because it's got like the D&D kind of skin to it too, and it's random fun. I love it.
Yeah, it's a really fun game. I played it last year too. It's so chaotic.
I love chaos.
Yeah. All right. So our next category is our favorite family-based game, like casual,
Wait,
family friendly.
wait! I gotta give
Oh
mine.
no, Mandi, I totally forgot about you. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's because I'm busy chatting away. Oh wait, it's my turn. No, I'm not really paying attention.
It's okay. Sorry. And your favorite new to you game?
I honestly would just be like, whatever, but I had to talk about it because I feel like I'm the only person on earth who hasn't played this game. But the new to me game so it didn't come out in 2017. I'm not sure the year, is Glass Road. So it's an Uwe game, which I love Uwe games. And I had never played this game. Have you played it?
No.
Oh, you haven't either. Okay.
You have to play it. It's honestly my favorite Uwe game.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
I find it goes really fast though. Like I almost wish it was like longer, because by the time it finishes, it's over. But I was taught it on the Dice Tower boat cruise, so it's still been a little while since I've played it. So Caryl probably could explain it better than I do. But I like the fact that you're using cards actually in the game to perform actions, but you almost want to make sure that nobody else. I think if I understand this correctly, you want to make sure other people don't choose the card you're choosing. Is that right? Because then I think you end up getting less actions. Correct?
I've
had a long time. It's been a long time. It's been a long time.
In a year. That sounds about right. Like I remember just the wheel, and like that changes like the resources that you have, because like it's almost like a clock, and then it kind of moves like that. So it's like, oh, okay, so this is like this resource and this is like that resource. So it's like constantly changing in that way instead of like getting like little chits. And it's like I have 12 tokens.
The clock is really cool. The way that moves, it's really neat. So that's how you manage your resources. And when you're paying for to make tiles on your board, you need to use these resources off your little clock and move it. So by doing so, you may end up covering another resource, and you're like, oh wait, I can't get that resource now. Or you know what I mean? So it's like, oh my gosh. And it seems so simple when you're playing. Play some cards, got some resources, have a board, build some buildings, right? Yeah, no, that little resource clock thing really throws you for a loop if you're not paying attention. And then other people playing the same cards as you can really, or the same action, if that's the action that they were going to play, it's in their hand. Sorry, if that was an action, I think that's still, this is where I get confused. Caryl, remind me here. Everybody has to pick a card, but I think if the card is an action that they were going to play, I think you end up getting Is it less actions? I'm totally screwing this up. It's been a long time since I've played it.
That sounds right.
Okay. Someone can come online and be like, no, that's wrong. Well, you'll correct me. Anyway, it's a lot going on for such a simple like Uwe game, but I really, really enjoy it. So
Yeah, yeah. No, I need to play it. I've actually been picking up more of his games recently, so looking forward to playing Glass Road. Okay, so family games. I'm sorry, Mandy. So we'll go ahead and start with Caryl. So what's your favorite family-friendly game?
So this one was on Kickstarter, and it's from Navu Games. They're the guys who did Stockpile, and this is their second game that they've ever made called Crosstalk. So it's a word guessing game, team versus team, sort of like Codenames, but a lot more sophisticated is what I'm going to go with, because you have two people who know like the secret word, and they're trying to give one word clues on like a whiteboard, and they're trying to get their team to guess the word. The twist to the game is that each of their teams get like a private clue that kind of gives you context to what the word is. And it's not something as simple as like, oh, the hidden word is dog. It's more like references and like people or like phrases, things that are just that you need more to kind of guess. And like your clues are also public too. So like if one team wrote their public clue, then the other team gets to guess based on that clue. So it's like, you get your clue, but you don't want to give too much information to the other team. I hope this makes sense, but if you play it, it totally makes sense.
I think your explanation is much clearer than my Glass Road explanation, so you're good.
Okay. Yes, a very sophisticated word game, and I love bringing it because Codenames, like, you're just kind of like and humming, and it's like sometimes it just takes so long to make like little connections together. And this one, it's just like about context and kind of being clever with your phrasing, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I've played this, or I don't think I've even heard of it before. And I didn't realize it came out last year.
Yeah, it was pretty under the radar because Navu's like still very like starter-ish, and like the as a game company, like this is literally their second game, and I can easily see them being very up and coming.
Okay, cool. What about you, Eric?
I actually played Crosstalk at your house, Annette.
Oh, was that the loud game? Okay.
That sounds interesting.
I was just like, you're like, I haven't even heard of it, and I was like, curious.
Yeah, I was in the corner like playing a different game.
I think you were in the corner playing Azul or something.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we had one where it was like the clue was Pinocchio. I gave my team the clue liar, and the other team got to write first, and they wrote down wooden. And so we got it immediately, just crushed it on that clue. But yeah, it's a super fun game. If I bought more like party-ish game style games, that's definitely one that would be on my list because it was great. My favorite family game is just sort of known to be Ice Cool, but I think the best one I got this year was I finally picked up Rhino Hero Super Battle, and it's just so good. So if you haven't played, it's an expansion of sort of the regular Rhino Hero, where Rhino Hero generally has cards that are maybe like this high, and you're trying to build up an apartment building where superheroes fight on top of it. The lore of the game's a little beyond me, but the Super Battle cards are about double that height, so you can get like 3-ish foot tall buildings once you finally completed the whole thing. And I'm playing with like egregiously competitive people, so they'll place the towers such that they're around your piece, and you have to try and like wiggle your fingers in to sort of move the towers out of the way so you can get your piece out, because they literally built around you like Cask of Amontillado style. And as you're slowly building up this tower, the table gets wobbly. It's a lot of stress, a lot of like hanging things over. It's for a game that's ostensibly for like families, it's incredibly cutthroat. But it's cutthroat while being exactly as ridiculous as a game that's cutthroat at that level should be. Because at the end of the day, you're placing little animal tokens on a tower that you're slowly building up. I highly recommend it. It's great because at the end, whoever wins, we just knock down the tower as their prize, and it's just super good.
Yeah.
They played that at the Dice Tower gaming marathon. So I unfortunately didn't get a chance to jump in on that game. But is it like the regular Rhino Hero,
Yeah.
but just
Yeah, I think the super battle mechanic is like if you move up to the same floor as someone else, then you and their pieces fight by like rolling a die against each other. That's not like the best thing in the world because the actual movement mechanic is you roll a die and you can move 1, 2, 3, 0, or -1 spaces up. So if you have bad dice luck, you'll just stay on the ground the whole game and be like, "Oh, great, what a game we're having." But odds of that happening are low, but it's happened sometimes in games that I've played, but most people don't care because the tower building is the fun part.
is it a really big die? That's awesome if it is.
No, I'd say it's smaller than a favelas die, but bigger than a normal die, so somewhere in the middle. But it's pretty light. It doesn't have the same like
yeah.
heft to it that like favelas dice do.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Sounds fun though.
Yeah, it's it's a really good time. I think when they were playing it at Gen Con, they'd give out like little capes if you won, so you could really just sort of get into the zone on it.
So cute.
Do you have a cape?
No, I would be wearing the cape if I had the
I was
cape.
gonna say.
It matches the shirt, like, it's a coordination thing. I really missed out on the capes.
Aw.
I think about it every day.
You should. So what about you, Mandi? What's your favorite family-based game?
So I have a couple. So I threw a couple in here because, of course, like a bad student, I do my assignments last minute. So while you all were chatting, I threw in Dice Forge, which is great because you get to just throw a bunch of dice around, but it's cool that you get to change them out. So I've actually played this a few times, once with Tom. Oh, look at that. See, I don't even have a copy. So there you go. So Eric, here, I'll stop talking. You can talk so it pops up. So you can show the box.
Right. Yes, let me grab the box real fast. It's over here. Dice Forge.
So it's really cute. I know I needed him to show because I don't have it. So I always use somebody else's copy. But I like the fact that you can create your own type of dice. Like I'm notorious for making dice with victory points. I can't be bothered. I try the board, I try and do other stuff, but everyone beats me to it. So I just make my dice really strong in victory points. Like, woo, 6 victory points. Woo, 3 victory points. I don't win, but a close second is fine. But for kids, they don't care, right? They just like the whole idea of popping out the different pieces and putting fun things in. So I think that's a really fun game to play with families. And if you want just something that's a little bit more of a challenge, but still can be with family, and if you're Harry Potter fans, I really liked the Harry Potter game. Was not crazy about the art. I really wish they had gone with original art, but I can't keep beating that to death. So the game itself is actually quite good. So deck builder type game, extremely thematic. I think Harry Potter is another great one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I haven't played either one of those.
We should play Dice Forge. Yeah, it's pretty light, but it's got that nice like. It feels like the first set of Dominion felt, where you're like, oh, I can see where you might go with this after this, but the core concept is also pretty cool.
Okay, cool.
Teardown's really annoying though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Because they're like, oh, every dice face has a specific spot on this very small board, and they're all very tiny. Enjoy the next 15 minutes of your life.
So if Eric has a moment, he could even potentially show you how small these little pieces are. That I love how I'm putting him to work.
Yeah, remember that one time?
Yeah, exactly. But it seriously can be a bit of a pain. So
yeah,
I'll
let me
see
see
if
if
he's
I
out.
can
Here we go.
pop up. So the pieces are like really tiny, hand for scale, I guess face for scale, I'm not sure. But they just sort of pop off and then pop back on like your favorite Lego-ish brand style thing. The problem is like it comes with this sort of board thing that I'm scared to hold vertically.
Yeah.
But all of them go in spots, and if any one of them fall out, then you have to. It scares me, and yeah, I just no, just putting it away now.
So in all, it is fun. I know we're making it sound super tedious, but it is a fun game. I do wish they would come out with an expansion, though. It's one of those games you'll play it for a while, and then you're like, okay, I need something else. So it's one of those games where I think it's going to benefit from having like several additions to it over time, but
okay,
that's just my opinion.
The nice thing it's got over Dominion is that like a Dice Forge big box really won't take up that much room, as opposed to like a Dominion big box, which is like 20 pounds.
Exactly.
And shelf space too.
yeah, it's
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, let's see. Oh, Board Game Renegades online. So it's all like, hey, what's up?
Oh, hey, how you doing, Jeremiah?
Oh, he says I have a nice bow. Thank you. I know. This is called
It
My
is
Hair's
nice.
Not Done, so let's distract with a large bow. Seems to be working. Oh, I'm gonna throw
So,
it over to Annette now. I know I've been chatting away.
yeah. So my favorite family weight game is the Exit series games. So yeah, we actually Eric and I introduced Eric last week to an Exit game, and I think it's a really great family weight game where you have these hidden, I guess, puzzle pieces that you're trying to piece together, and you're trying to figure out these different clues and trying to turn this book. And there's pages in the book, and certain pages will apply to what you're trying to solve. And what you're trying to do is get through this deck of cards where you're trying to solve the answers to these questions and these riddles. And then you're trying to escape this room. We were in Antarctica last week, and we got stuck in a room, and we had to get out by figuring out like where the keys are to certain things. And but the thing is, like, the innovativeness of the puzzles themselves. Not only are you, oh, I think we lost Mandy.
It's
Not
okay.
only
She's
are
still
you
in our hearts.
trying, okay, not only are you trying to basically figure out a puzzle on your own, but it's a co-op. So as a group, you're trying to figure it all out together. But sometimes, like, you can figure out a puzzle, but the other person really they don't know, so you figure it out. And then sometimes you don't know, and then they can figure it out. And it's a game where it's time based, so everyone's just trying to figure it out as fast as possible together. There's independent puzzles, like little things where you have to work together to solve things. And I think right now there's like 6 boxes right now. So I've played 4 of the 6, and they're great. Like, I love it. Like, I played the Unlock series, but I didn't like it as much. I'm all for the Exit games. I think they're great.
So I have all 6. I've only played one.
With
Caryl will
me.
attest to our experience. I decided to have the smart idea of, hey, let's play an Exit game at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh gosh.
And you won't guess how long it took us. Like, we had the timer, it kept going, and at 2 a.m., things are just so hard to process. Like, we were like, give me the hint, just give me the hint. I don't care anymore. And I think the timer was probably 2.5 hours, close to 3, and we didn't go to bed till like 5.
Oh, it was crazy. Like,
yeah,
it was a little painful, to be quite honest. I literally remember sitting there and I'm like, okay, sorry, what's the next thing? Like, it took so long. Oh, but I'd like to play it again under better circumstances.
That happened with us in Spy Club. I was playing a prototype of it at Gen Con with I think the Weird Drafts crew and Game Geek Ninja. And we started a like 5-game campaign at like perfectly reasonable time, 9 p.m.
Oh,
around like 2 or 3 a.m. there were 3 of us who were just like slumped with our heads in our hands. I'm like, we're like, there's a puzzle here. None of us can figure it out because 3 of us are asleep. Jeremy, you have to solve this or else we can't go to bed. Good game. Highly recommend. But yeah, maybe not we didn't realize the complexity was going to go up as time passed. We thought it was going to go down.
Yeah. So what did you think, Eric, about the Exit game that we played last week? Did you like it?
Oh yeah. I was amused by the plot because the plot was like super flimsy.
Yeah.
Like, basically they're like, we locked you in a room and you can only escape this room by using unaltered human logic. And I'm like, well, we're your friends. Why'd you lock us in this room? Anyways.
Right, that's what I was thinking the whole time. Like, why did our friends leave us here?
Yeah, they're like, well, I mean, those guys are on their own. Good luck, guys. We locked you in this room with a bunch of puzzles. Okay. But the puzzles were super fun. I enjoyed working on it. I think there was one puzzle that we all kind of agreed was just a little bit garbage, but I feel like for like 10 puzzles, if one's garbage, that's better than a lot of escape rooms that I've done, so I'm probably fine with that.
Yeah. Cool. So I don't think I missed anyone for family games.
There is a comment though. Jeremy Howard mentioned Dream Home and Climbers. Probably for the family game? yeah, those can definitely be family games. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd love to meet someone who has played the climbers correctly, but like,
Okay. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Okay.
I have not. I don't know. I've played it before. Every single time I've played it with a different rule set because we either
Okay.
find something or we miss something, and it's a highly modular game. You'll never play it the same way twice.
We'll have to play it soon.
Yeah, Dream Home looked fun. I would have liked to. I would have liked to have played that. That is it's right up in like the Animal Crossing level of like games I would really like to have as board games.
Yeah, I haven't played that one either. I'm interested in the cuteness of it. You know, I think it's a really adorable game.
It's got like 2 expansions as well. It really like shot up in content.
Yeah. So let's see. The next category is card games. So we're gonna go over our favorite card game. I tend to play a lot of different card games. So this one was a little hard for me, but I was first. Okay, I'm gonna cheat a little because I have 2 of them. So I was first gonna say Innovation Deluxe because I really love like the interplay of cards and the multi-use card. Like the way you can play them is just so interesting, and then you move a long time. I really love it. It's like brain burning in a way. And then also when you get better with the game, you kind of are always going to win against someone that's new. So I don't know, I really love that game. But then recently I started playing Tybor the Builder. And Tybor the Builder is kind of like a game that I can casually play like within 30 minutes. And it's really good as well. Like it's a lot easier. So they're kind of different weights, I think. But those are my 2 favorite card games, Tybor the Builder and Innovation Deluxe.
Tybor the Builder is good. I have that one too because it's in the same world as Oh My Goods.
Yeah.
And I picked it up at Essen actually. And it's one I just keep in my knapsack and I can toss out at lunch and quickly explain it. It's a lot easier to explain than Oh My Goods, I find. So
Yeah,
it's
is.
a good one. I really like it.
Yeah, and I like the chapter cards in it too. Like it kind of tells the story and it develops the story of how the Longsdale, that town of Longsdale kind of developed. So it's a little like type of legacy, or not legacy, but like fable type of storytelling, you know.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Jeremy here in the chat is actually going to touch on some of the ones we're going to talk about. So for card games, Campy Creature, Fox in the Forest, which is actually on my list, Villages of Valeria, trick-taking games had a good year too. And yes, I would agree. Trick-taking is one of my favorite type of card game mechanics. So, but yeah, so you're absolutely right. Those are some great choices.
Yeah. So what is your favorite card game, Caryl?
So I had a really hard time deciding this because like Jeremy said, there were a lot of great trick-taking games. Like we had, what was it? We had Indulgence, we had like Tournament Camelot, Fox in the Forest, Custom Heroes, like probably others I can't even think of, but I didn't choose a trick-taking game. I chose, Trickster. Yeah, Eric is showing all the games. The one I chose is Legend of the Five Rings. So that's like the FFG like new like living card game that they released this year, or sorry, 2017, last year. And I've like grown playing like the Game of Thrones card game, a little bit of Netrunner, and I feel like Legend of Five Rings just like refines a lot of like the system. Like it's not so fiddly. It's got a lot of great deduction that you would get in something like Netrunner. And I just love the lore too. Like I've never really gone into like the AEG version of it, but I just love what they're doing with it. And it's such a great competitive game that I just don't have anyone to be competitive with me, but you know, I enjoy it nonetheless.
Wait, are any of these on Tabletopia?
Knowing FFG, probably not. Like I would love if we could. Like we could just like draw things and like card sleeves and play on Skype or something. I don't know.
Like, I was trying to find it.
Are you trying to volunteer playing with me on it?
No, I told you, like I'm up for most things. Deduction is probably the one I'm kind of, but everything else I'm okay with.
Just be careful playing those card games online. When I was a lot younger, I used to play the Dragon Ball Z trading card game, and I used to play online over like AOL Instant Messenger against other people who had it because no one in my town, city, state, municipality, no one I knew played this game. About maybe 3 years ago, I realized why I always lost. Because I lost every
Cheaters.
game because someone would just draw the exact card they needed to beat me halfway through, and I was like, oh, I understand now. Very sad day.
So what is your favorite
Oh,
card
right.
game, Eric?
Card games, yes. So I'm gonna throw down for Illimat. So
Oh yeah.
Illimat is super cool. It's like it's sort of like a classic card game in terms of feel, but it's like a classic card game you like found in a chest in your grandparents' attic along with like a weird cloak and like several hats. It's got that sort of aesthetic going for it. Basically, you play trying to play cards to 4 fields in order to impress luminaries who will then show up in town and be like, I heard you were really good at farming. And you're like, maybe. But the cards have seasons rather than suits, and it uses the back of the game box. So this is the Illimat. It uses that to determine which field is which season, which is a really cool use of the game's box itself. I don't see a lot of games use their box for actual like gameplay stuff, so it's nice to see them sort of using the whole thing. It makes it a little bit harder to transport, so I made like a pocket Illimat that's just a sheet of paper, but it's cool aesthetic, fun gameplay. I like the mechanics it has. It's sort of like somewhere between a classic card game and like a modern board game, and I like that that's got that whole sort of spectrum. Other ones, yeah, it was a good year for trick taking, so I'd say Fox in the Forest and Trickster. I quite like Trickster just because the first time I played it, a friend and I got in this really weird, lengthy inside joke about one of the characters, and we were just laughing the entire time to ourselves. So like everyone we were playing with, I think we were playing with you, weren't we, Annette? At Kubla Khan?
Yeah, I think it was a pretty silly game that we we played it.
Everyone else is just like, why are these two dudes laughing so much? But I love the art. I mean, Daniel does a great job with game designs. Beth is great on art. So when I heard the two of them were teaming up for a game, I was like, that's just sort of an instant back for me. And I've had a lot of fun with it. But I never have enough people who know how to play it to play with the advanced variant. So I've just been playing the basic variant for like a year. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Quite like it.
Yeah, you got to witness how bad I am at trick taking. I was like the worst. But
I don't know. Last night we played a game of it for the first time, or for the first time in a while, and I was like, "Ha, I'll play this card." And everyone's like, "Why did you do that?" And I'm like, "That was a terrible decision. Just got ruined for it."
yeah, I'm pretty bad at it, but I did like Ilmat though.
Yeah, Illimat
Yeah.
is super cool. It's got like metal. It's got little metal tokens called like Ocus tokens that you take over the course of the game. One of the expansions has like this tiny bird, which Annette and I spent most of the evening fighting over, just because
Yeah.
Annette likes birds in general, and I just like that bird specifically. So
Yeah, it was a race to get the bird.
Of course. Was this a Kickstarter?
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It's because Keith Baker did it, but it's based off of some game that the Decemberists were playing in one of their music videos, and so I'm just
Yeah.
like, that seems weird. Okay, I'm here for weird games, so I got it, and it's been quite good. It's one of my favorite games I played last year, actually.
Mhm.
Okay. Oh, this is good to know. And I'm seeing so Eric in the chat mentioned Octagon. Now I had to ask what that is. I've not played. I don't know the link for this. I know Caryl, you are familiar with this. I don't know if either of you are familiar with this. So I guess it's another
No.
place to play games.
Yeah, so I know it because people that I follow play Game of Thrones on Octagon, and it's like a digital way to like play it. And like some people use it before new cards even release. So they have a way to like kind of test
cool.
their builds against each other.
Oh,
Okay.
neat.
Cool.
Okay, so thanks, Eric, for that, because I had not heard about it. But now that you've given me the link, I'm going to check that out. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, is it me?
Cool.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. What's your favorite card game, Mandi?
So I play a lot of games over the course of a year, so I kind of just pick one that I just remembered, said, hey, these were fun. So Fox in the Forest, which was mentioned in the chat, and you all mentioned, I don't have my copy here to show you, but I keep that one at work. But 2-player trick-taking game, that never happens. They're usually minimum 3-player. So this is what made me really happy to see this. And I love the fact that the cards were really pretty. And the gameplay was neat because you actually had powers on the cards that you can incorporate in the kind of trick-taking part of the game. So if you're familiar with trick-taking, you'll pretty much catch the mechanics of this very quickly. But then in addition to that, each card has special abilities or powers that you can implement in the game. You also don't want to be too greedy and win too many tricks, because that's not going to get you any points. So you definitely want to stay in that humble range. And I don't remember the exact number count. I think it's about 5 to 8 or 5 to 6 or something like this, where that's how many tricks that you want to win in order to gain points. And I think it's first to 21 points, but you can alter that, wins the game. So definitely want to play at lunch if it's just the two of us. Another one that I carry in my game. So I really, in my bag. So I really enjoyed that. And also, I do have this one here, is Custom Heroes. It's silly, super, super silly. Let's just be honest. I'm not saying it's going to win any awards here, but it's a lot of fun. Now, the cover, when I first saw this, was at Gamma, and there was a lot of cleavage happening. It was a very different character. And I know Suzanne and I commented, and we're kind of like, it's kind of off-putting. So they did change the cover. However, that character is still in the game, but better there than here, I guess. So I love this game because you get to craft your cards, which is kind of cool. My favorite is the girl with the cabbage, or like if my character, I can make her have a piece of cabbage, or I had the gentleman holding a hot dog, and, you know, fun things like that.
I haven't played this game, so this sounds really weird.
Oh man,
We need an illustration here, Mandi.
yeah, how have we not played this game?
So
It's so good.
It's so fun. It's a trick-taking game. So, well, I shouldn't say that. I would say it falls more into ladder climbing, but they quantify it as trick-taking. If you understand trick-taking or any type of, I don't want to say the name of that game on here because it would require me to swear, but there is a game that is very familiar to us that we've all played in our childhood. You would understand the concept of this game. So I'll quickly...
Another clean version of its name is President, Mandi.
Okay, I never called it President, so I didn't. So the cards, you have to sleeve them. Oh my goodness. Sleeving them is not the problem in this game. Sorry, I have to say this because I spent a lot of time doing this. You get these advancements. Now these are a problem. When you first get these, they're all coated in like a protective layer of plastic, and you have to peel off every single one. As you can see, there are a lot.
I just let them come off naturally. I've just been like, whenever they fall off, they fall off.
That is wise. Okay, wait. I gotta find it here. Okay, I can't find the cabbage, but I can find the hot dog. So I don't know how well. Maybe if I do it that way, it's kind of hard to see. But maybe if I put it in here. So this is what you generally do when you're crafting your cards. I don't know if you can see her holding the hot dog.
Yeah, I see her holding it. That's silly.
It is. It's super, super silly. Anyway, long story short, trick-taking type game, but you can add these kind of advancements. Like in this case, this one takes a -1. So instead of a 9, it becomes an 8. So it can allow you to have pairs and triples of cards. And anyway, it basically helps you to get rid of your cards faster because it allows you to pair them up, triple them up, and so forth. And then you've got other abilities that you can use. So Custom Heroes, I had a lot of fun with this one.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to try that out. Do you have it? Do you have it, Eric?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I particularly like I didn't think I would like the skipping mechanic.
No, me too.
In like a 3-player game, it just gets really silly for one player who just gets dunked on for an entire round.
Yeah.
But the dunking sort of shifts between players, so it's hard to get that mad about it. I quite like it. It generally what happens is over the course of the game, cards get stronger and stronger until like the very end of the game, people are just dropping like, yeah, I've got 5 14s, and you're like, that's not even a number in the game. Where did you make this? And they have like bootleg advancements. It's very good. I quite like it.
Cool. All right, so our next category is heavy game. It's a game that basically hurts your head when you play it. And so I guess I'll go ahead and start, kind of give you my favorite heavy game. And my favorite heavy game this past year, I think there were several of them, but my favorite one has to probably be Lisboa. And I know the first time I played it was back in 2016 with Mandi, and we had Paul Grogan from Gaming Rules. He taught us this game, and when we played it, we only played I think one round of it, and or one era, and it it pretty much left us like, okay, it's the end of the night. Like after that, we called it. We were so tired, our head hurt. And then the thing is, though, like towards the end of that first era, something kind of clicked with me. But then the game was done. We had to go. And then I had to wait a full year for it to come back. And then when it came back with the new like production of it and the whole game, like I just love the whole production that Eagle Griffith put into it. And then also Ian O'Toole with the artwork and the history of it. And then there's the gameplay, which is just like a beast of a game to figure out and solve. And I really loved it. Like it's one of the heavier games that I really enjoy. It's not too heavy, but like once you learn the game, then it's like, oh, I have so many interesting decisions to make. And that's what I really love about heavy games. So that's my number one heavy game of 2017 is Lisboa.
I found Lisboa that first time we played it. Honest to goodness, I was like, I have no idea what's going on right now. I was like, you would see like question marks on top of my head. I'm like, I don't get it, because I found the Gallerist for me was very intuitive, which is another Vital Lacerda game. So for me, that was great. And a lot of people are like, oh, I found that one hard, confusing, and I was completely the opposite. And when I've talked to Vital, he's like, no, Lisboa is easier. I'm like, what? I'm like, no, it's not. So it took me about, I think, this partway through the second playthrough before I went, I get it. Because up until that point, I was like, on the game. And then after that point, I'm like, okay, I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I don't know. Like I think we all had that same question mark above our heads when we first played it. But I think as long as you'd still go through it, and it's really inviting too with the artwork and just the amount of stuff that's there, it's really inviting for me as a heavy gamer lover. Like I just love the figuring out like how to play a game and how to be like optimal with your decisions. So definitely Lisboa was it for me. How about you, Caryl? What was your favorite heavy game?
So I actually have not played a lot of heavy games this year or last year. I'm the one usually teaching games and reading rulebooks, and if it's anything more than 20 pages, then I just I punch everything and put it back on the shelf, and I don't know when I touch it next. The heaviest that I've played, which isn't even that heavy at all, is probably Too Many Bones, and I really like that one. Like it's a skirmish cooperative game where you can kind of do like a campaign all in like one playthrough as like you're going through like a map, and like it's all very combat oriented where everyone has their own unique characters, and you're trying to figure out how to beat all these different waves of I think they call them baddies as they come at you, and some will like have all these different status effects on you, some will just be like completely beefy, and it's just wave after wave after wave of things that come after you, which it's not heavy, but it takes like maybe about 3 hours to play. But it's such a good game. Like I played it once with someone teaching me the game, and it made me want to drop all my money on it.
Cool.
Too Many Bones is really, really, really good. I really like that game. Quality. I know we're not there yet, but quality components, beautiful. It's a good game.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I haven't played that one at all. So and it's not about necessarily like a heavy game that just kind of like is too difficult to read through the rule book or anything. It's just like a game that maybe takes a while to play and figure out.
We did a live stream when it first came out, Michael and I. So for those who don't know, Michael's also on the To Die For channel, and we do live playthroughs on the Dice Tower Monday nights. And we did a 4.5 hour stream of Too Many Bones. We were like 4.5 hours. Who's watching that 4.5 hours? Can I tell you? People were in that chat from beginning to end, including the publishers and the designers. So
nice. I think I joined you for a little bit.
You did. I remember you coming in. So, but it was fun. Like that's what I'm saying. Like it was such a good game.
Mm-hmm. So, what about you, Eric?
Well, I mean, I am an expert in heavy games and heavy gameplay. I think the heaviest I've played so far has been Rhino Hero, but I think that the heaviest game I've played all of last year, I'm not even sure if it was last year, it might have been in 2016. I just got the dates wrong. When did we play Manhattan Project Energy Empire?
Oh gosh.
Was that early last year, or was that the end of 2016?
No, I think because I got it at the end of 17. I think it was early last year.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, early
I,
last year.
I liked it. I made a critical error that may have cost me the game. I'm not still dwelling on it. I just want to be clear. But I'd say that probably the like heaviest game that I play with any regularity is probably Near and Far. So
Okay.
I'll call it heavy-ish because it's got a 40-page rulebook, and I got very stressed when I first saw that. But let me see here. I got it here. Oh god, no, it's actually just physically heavy. Like this thing's like a good like 10-ish, 12-ish pounds. But I mean, I think that Near and Far for me, although it's probably not a heavy game by many people's standards, is still heavier than the games I usually get played at most game nights. For me, it's the perfect combination of Above and Below and Islebound. It's got the sort of like routing, do things at certain locations that I really liked of Islebound, and it's got this sort of narrative component that I really liked from Above and Below, but it lacks the thing in Above and Below where I feel like the game is punishing me for exploring, which makes me really sad because that's my favorite part of the game. Is like I want to go into the caverns, and it's like cool, have 1 gold. I'm like, but that's terrible. I should have just done nothing. And they're like, yes. Then why is this here? It always makes me a bit sad. I guess, yeah, I wouldn't say that Soul is particularly heavy, or Fog of Love. Although Fog of Love, I guess, is like emotionally intensive. I don't know. I'll share more about that when we get to thematic. I'm not a super like heavy gamer by default. I tend to just like playing a lot of small, fast games. And I'm the rules explainer for my group, so explaining the rules to like a 2 or 3 hour game is incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
I'd love to say Vast, but I think I only got Vast played like once last year. It continues to be my like on my gaming pedestal of I would love to play this more than I have, but getting everyone on the same page with all of the rules for Vast is a very time-consuming endeavor. It's worth it, but it's just very time-consuming.
I liked Vast at best, honest to goodness. And Caryl is going to be the expert here, but I actually really liked it at 3 players. I played it with a full player count. Like I've done a review on it.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people like it with the bigger player count. I really, really enjoyed it at 3 players. We played with the goblin, the dragon, and the knight. And I really enjoyed it. Honestly, I'm not saying it's bad at 3, 4, 5, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really liked it at 3.
My ongoing problem is whenever I present it, everyone unanimously always all want to be the cave. And so we have to sort of like sift through who gets to be the cave. And that's like a very lengthy thing. It's just like, oh, you can play as the cave. That's me. I'm the cave. And it's like, oh.
Got it.
I'm excited about the expansion.
Me too. Can't wait. I'm hoping that we can get a playthrough in the next few weeks up. So yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm going to try and convince some people to play it with me soon.
7 players.
Oh my god.
That is my actual nightmare, yes. It's like when people are like, hey, you can support 6-player Dominion. Do you want to play 6-player Dominion with us? And I'm like, and then I start crying.
Oh. So I'm not going to spend too much on my choice. It's Lisboa, and Annette has already kind of given us a summary of that, and then I kind of jumped in. So my heavy game choice of the year was Lisboa.
Cool. All right. So I guess we'll go on to the next category, which is the most played game of last year. So which game did you obsessively play all throughout 2017? And so I guess I'll start it by saying that my most played game was probably Kokoro or Avenue. Yeah, I think that one was just the game that was easily accessible. You can play a large player count. You could play a solo game. You could play online. You can play like just the accessibility is just. I could probably play that game every day, and it's so good and it's so different. And I really like building the routes and everything. So yeah, definitely I have to say that Kokoro was my #1 most played game. All right. So what about you, Caryl? What was your favorite or most played game?
So, because I do a lot of game nights, I'd say Werewords was probably the most played one. It's app assisted, so like in like One Night Ultimate Werewolf, it'll tell you when people open their eyes and everything. But with Werewords, it's got the idea of werewolf and a word guessing game. So you can see where I'm going with words. I love word games. So there's going to be someone who's a mayor. They know what the secret word is, but there's also the werewolf roles that are implemented into it. So you have a seer who knows the secret word, and then you have werewolves who want the village to not guess the secret word, and the village are the people who are trying to guess what the word is. And it's great with the app because it just tells you what to do, and the roles get exchanged so that even the mayor who knows the word can also be a werewolf, and they can be misleading the entire village. And I think it's like a perfect blend of werewolf and something accessible like a word game, just put together in an easy to grasp social deduction game. Like it's just so perfect, especially with the app.
I forgot to take my mic off. I'm trying to talk to you. I'm like, so is this one that everyone else has played?
Yeah, Werewords is really good. I've even taken the app and used it with just the insider pieces when I don't have the Werewords pieces available.
Okay.
I think really it's the app that app generating words for you that's really great. I particularly like the ridiculous set because like the ridiculous words in Werewords are like, all right, Mayor, you have to get the town to guess Spiro T. Agnew, Richard Nixon's first vice president. You're like, no one wants this. Or like effervescent is one of the words that we had.
Oh my goodness.
If you just like, I don't know if people actually use that set, and I want to meet people who have successfully won with that set and be like, how much have you played this? Like, out of respect, honestly.
Talk to Dan King. I think that's who I first played it with, Dan King and Suzanne, and then like a group of people. I think Dan plays that game often. Every time I see him, he's playing it online or he's talking about it. So there you go. Someone who probably would be getting those crazy words.
It's very good.
Yeah, and like back to back too. Like I showed it to my family. It was like 10 games back to back.
Yeah, it's like it's that and Magic Maze are my two. Like if we play it once, we're playing it a solid like 8 to 10 times.
Oh yeah, for sure. Actually, Magic Maze is a good one. It's actually a really good choice for that. Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, I still need to play Magic Maze. Maybe we can get that game in.
It's stressful, but like it's fun. But you're literally, I think that little marker, I swear, everyone's like banging it in front of someone. How are you not seeing this?
Ours is starting to like, I feel like it's going to eventually start losing the paint or whatever on the bottom because people are just like slamming it against the table with extreme prejudice.
Very true.
Yeah, so anyone else? What is your most played game of 2017?
It's just, I just love it so much.
Yeah, yeah.
I've played, I think, Santorini like 120 times now, I think. Last time I tracked, I think 70 of those plays were this year. Just as soon as we got it, I was like, oh my gosh, this game is exactly what I wanted it to be. It's a whimsical Greek mythology game where you can build towers. And so we busted out, I think we got a solid 50 plays in between like the 20th of December when it came in and the end of the year. And then another like 70 or 75 last year. It's my favorite two-player game far and away, but oh man, it's exactly what I wanted it to be.
It's really addicting. Like you can easily play a game in like 5 minutes and then play another one and then play
another. Yeah. Especially because it's I play it all the time with my manager at work, and we're basically on the same wavelength now, so we can get into a state where I'll make a move, look quizzically at the board, and then just resign. I'll be like, nope, I'm out. You got me. Like in 6 moves, you're going to have done this. There's nothing I can do to stop it. You win. I concede. And then we'll just be like, okay, play it again.
I love so Michael, who I do the stream with, he's so funny. As soon as you mentioned Santorini, I know. And this is him. He's like, well, he's like, I love it. I may be biased, but his name is listed first in the storybook. So he loves when Santorini comes up because he's like, I need to tell everyone. So he plays it. I'm sure he would compete with you for plays because I'm sure he plays it the same or more as you, Eric.
Oh my gosh. It's just, it's such a good game.
It is.
It's simple. You can drop the god powers if you want it to be more strategic. You can keep them in if you want it to be a little bit more random. It's just got a wide appeal, and it's a very like solid and short two-player game with a lot of interesting decisions. So it's like right in my alley of games that I like to play.
Right. Oh, it's a good choice. Really good choice.
So what about you, Mandi? What was your most played game? I know you play a lot of games throughout the year, but what's the one game you play the most?
Yeah, so minimum 3 times for games. When I'm trying to review, I try to play them a minimum of 3 times. So the one that I've played beyond that 3-time mark would be Dinosaur Island. To be fair, I'm doing a stream next week on the Dice Tower, so that's probably why I've been playing it more. But I taught it at a game night the other night. They're like, "We want to play?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll bring my copy. I can teach it to you." I love it. And I love the fact that you can choose your length of time for your gameplay, short, medium, or long. I don't find the short game as an option. It's super short. It's great if you want to learn it, but it's only like 3 rounds, legitimately. Medium games, I can play 2 of those back to back within like under 3 hours. So for me, that's great. And it's a lot going on. I think there's 4 phases in the game, and you can get a good feel for the game with a medium length game. So, I mean, the goal of the game is to build a really cool dinosaur park. And I'm sorry, but the game itself it reminds me of Varney. Okay, I'm throwing it out there. Anybody who knows what Varney is, the color scheme, that's what it reminds me of. I'm going to kind of jump ahead a little bit into artwork because we have best artwork and I have another game for that. But some of the artwork on this I thought was great, like the whole concept of it, and it really just brought me back. I see where they were going. Totally Varney color scheme. If anyone knows what that is, I applaud you because it's fantastic. But basically, you're trying to build the best animal park or dinosaur park you can, but you have to be careful of not, overcrowding. And, you have hooligans which can come into your park, basically the people jumping over the fence, trying to get into your park without paying, and they prevent you from getting points, money. Like, it makes sense. You know what I mean? So I won't go into too much detail about it. If you want to see more, you can watch the stream on Monday. But that to me was my most played game.
Cool. I really need to try it.
You've not played it?
No, I live in a cave.
No, you don't, Eric. Come on. We're going to play it for your birthday.
This happens. I'm just like, It's
such a fun game, and that brings us to like the next category, which is like the artwork and components. I think that game alone had some of the best components. Like if you pick up that game, you're getting a workout because the coins are bigger than quarters. They're like bigger than dollars, like whole dollar coins. They're huge and they're super thick and heavy. Like it's unnecessary, but it's just so great to like have all that money from like all these people going to your park. And then all these hooligans, like all the plastic pieces, the velvet bag, like the artwork, the slap band, like everything.
Slap bands.
Yeah.
Very 80s.
So that's my favorite game that probably has like the best artwork and components combined. I don't know if you guys want to name any other game too that is your favorite artwork or component based game.
Flip Ships Century Golem Edition.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's good choices there. Yeah, and speaking of Flip Ships, so Quanchai Moria art, I picked as the best artwork. One of my games was Favelas.
Oh yeah, Favelas art is incredible.
Also, did Dinosaur Island.
Yeah, that's the thing. Dinosaur Island had great art. I know a lot of people were really turned off by the color, but I beg to differ. I like color, so I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Is there any other game that you guys want to go over with artwork and components?
I think I finally got the little bird token from Illimat out. Let me see if I can.
It's so cute.
Look at that metal bird. Yeah, it's great. I'd be remiss if I didn't at least bring up Soul, Last Days of a Star.
Yeah.
For art. It's got this like moody, meditative art that I really like. And Near and Far. Also Drop Mix for art. The art's like really cool.
They're all original too, which is crazy. They're not like album artwork. They commissioned artists to make art for the cards. It's insane.
They did a really good job. Like if anyone could buy it, because it's hardly ever in stores, that's one thing. But like, the art itself is just really good.
Cool.
I also have here. So I have a pic. I didn't show it earlier. So this is Favelas. So as you can see, if you have Flip Shift, you'll see the commonality, right? So the game can be read both ways. So that's really, that's how you kind of know Quan Chai's art. He does a lot of that stuff. So I thought it was really well done. And also, I don't have my copy here with me, but Path of Light and Shadow. Now, anything Beth Sobel touches, generally, I've said this before, I will most likely purchase or acquire. So I really liked her use of diversity of art in the game. The front cover shows a man and a woman. It has a woman of color. And throughout the game, you see different people represented. I like that. And I found it worked very well with the theme of the game. I played that most recently with my friend Michael, and it was great. The artwork was fantastic.
Trickster as well does a really good job with diversity of representation in art, and I really, really like that.
I think that's great, and it really appeals to a lot of people. So I think that's fantastic.
Definitely. So what is your favorite your most innovative game of 2017? I have to say my most innovative game is Windake or Windake. Is
that the First Nations about the First Nations people?
Yeah, that has a really interesting way of taking actions. It's like there's 9 tiles in a square, and then you do actions that are on the tiles either like horizontally, vertically, or diagonally, and then they drop down, and then you draw new tiles and you add them to your board. And the action play, like the action selection, is really new and unique. And that's why I picked that one as my innovative game. Definitely look into it. I think it's something that doesn't suit everyone, but it's a really interesting take on action selection. And then the theme alone is pretty cool too. It's something different, it's something fresh and unique and well represented too.
Okay, yeah, that was one I had seen and I was interested in, but anytime a game kind of focuses on a particular group of people, I always get nervous. I'm like, is it actually a good thing or a bad thing? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I always feel like with something like that. It's just like Native Americans always have a bad take because every game is usually about colonization and about exterminating, Native Americans. But in this game, it's not. It's about this group, this one tribe, not multiple tribes, but one tribe, and how they lived throughout the 7-Year War, which is a colonist war. But it's like their take on it. Like, what did they have to do? They still survived and did their everyday thing. And every now and then, like, I guess the colonists would come in and make them sick. So it takes the plot into the game. But it's really cool. I think it's well represented.
Okay, I'll have to try and pick it up. It was one that I was interested in, so I'm glad you said that. And I'm gonna jump in before I jump over to chat. I don't know if we talked about components, and someone else had actually mentioned. I think Jeremy had mentioned as well. I had thrown in Azul. I have a thing with tiles, and being part Portuguese, I really saw the whole story behind that, and the way they use the components really appealed to me as the actual tiles. So I thought that was really, really cool. And most innovative game for me was Noria. So Noria is a brain burner. It is crunchy. We're talking about break your tooth on this game, crunchy. Okay, it is. It's good, but holy moly! But the whole wheel action of turning the wheels and where you place your tokens is really important. So where you place those tokens on your wheel and order of operations are huge in that game. I've only played it once, so I can't really give a full take on the game. I want to play it a few more times before I give a final review. But so far, really, really good.
Yeah. I think for that game, you have to always play Journey in the background. I have to try that game out, though. But is there any other game that you thought was innovative to you, Caryl and Eric?
Ooh, I got one for this one, but I have to try and pick it up. It's all over this mix. This just doesn't fit in the shot very well, and I apologize. Didn't think this part through. But yeah, Drop Mix it's just weird. Like, if you told me, oh yeah, Harmonix, the Rock Band people are making a card game, I'd be like, okay, that's one thing. I'd be like, oh, it uses NFC chips and a surprisingly clunky piece of plastic to play mashups that you make. And I'm like, oh, that's really neat. And they're like, and it requires AA batteries. And you're like, what? Why? Why would anything? That aside, it's a super cool game. It's really neat at like parties. It's something that a lot of people will like be like, oh, I like part of this song, and then they'll start. It's nice because you just sort of kind of learn how to play the game from just kind of tinkering around with it. It's really neat. I wasn't sold on Clash mode until when I went to Annette's. I was told about people drafting the sort of playlist cards rather than just playing with the sets the game provides. The sets the game provides are a little questionable when it comes to like overall balance, but just the sort of mixed media platform for Dropbox or for DropMix, sorry, and also like this is the tech problem, and also just the musical component are both really neat to me. So
yeah, the way the music just flows together is so insane. Like it's like, how do you put this song and this song together? Oh, like that. That sounds amazing. It's okay. I really want it.
They might not all sound good, but they all generally work. There are very few times that you're like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. There's a lot of times when that happened, I had to walk away. Like, this song is awful.
But it still worked. It just worked in a really bad way.
That's true. What about you, Caryl? What's your most innovative game?
We talked a little bit about it already. Custom heroes. I just love the whole idea of the transparent cards, and I didn't like Mystic Veil, and the fact that they put this on a trick-taking game, like, perfect, absolutely perfect. That's what they should have done to begin with, and also just to throw out there, Charterstone, so good.
I'm trying it soon. I'm really excited about it.
Okay, I shan't say more then, but it's cool how you find the cards, and it's just very cool that like the board is reversible, so you could do like 2 campaigns, or yeah, you'll see, you'll find it's innovative. Yeah.
So I'm just gonna jump in real quick. Jeremy said as a choice for an innovative game, Meeple Circus. And basically saying it's a silly game, but it's innovative because we should have created it already. I actually really like Meeple Circus. It's fun.
I just make my own version of it with the Ex Libris meeples.
That's a good idea.
Just see how many of them I can stack. Ex Libris is also really good, and we haven't talked about it yet. But
it's good. So I know we're running low on time, so and it's probably makes them super chatty. But I'll just jump in if you don't mind, and then going to go down the line here. But biggest surprise game for me was Heaven and Ale. Who thought beer and monks would be interesting, but it is. And so basically placing tiles on the board, whether on the light or shady side, can depend on getting you money or moving up your beer master, so can help you get points in the game. It's a really weird scoring mechanism at the end where your lowest and your highest, you need to force them to meet together, and you have a ratio of basically you're using a ratio of where your brewmaster is or brewcrafter is. Brewmaster, I would say brewcrafter. Brewcrafter is to try and push up that farther at the end token to meet with the high end token so you can get points. It's not a scoring game, but it's really interesting. So I'm just kind of skipping over a lot of mechanics because we're just kind of going through the list. But biggest surprise for me was Heaven and Ale. Most thematic game for me was Dinosaur Island, which we covered. And best Kickstarter, I'll leave that till you guys cover your biggest surprise and best thematic.
Okay. I'll go ahead and list my biggest surprise game was number 9. So my friend from Europe brought me this game, and the thing is, I asked online like which game should I get from Europe that's not available here, and Suzanne said number 9. That was on her list, and so I got it without any hesitation. And he brought it over. I opened it up. The rule is like 1 page. Read it, and then instantly started playing it and loved it. So I didn't know what it was about. I loved the game as soon as I played it, and I still love it. My most thematic game I played this past year was probably Near and Far. So we already talked a little bit about that one, but I just love the theme of it and going through the campaign, and I've really been enjoying that game too. So what about you, Caryl? What's your favorite or biggest surprise game, and also your thematic game of the year?
So I've had 3 really big surprises. I'll talk about very quickly, but the first one is Bob Ross, Art of Chill. For a game that's from Target exclusive, and Bob Ross, it's surprisingly really great. Like you have to like paint different parts of the painting, and like if you're collecting these different colors, and then like if you get the wrong stuff and someone paints it first, then you have to like get like a palette knife and scrape it off, and then like rebuild your palette. Like it's so good, and it's actually pretty thematic too, which kind of overlaps a little bit. But I was also super surprised at Cat Lady, about collecting cats and feeding them, from AEG, and Majesty for the Realm, which is from the same designer as Splendor, and it's a really interesting engine building game. But for thematic, I'm gonna have to say Photosynthesis was the most thematic game that I played. I just love how like the sun actually like rotates around the board, and like you have like trees and they grow, and the tall ones block the small ones from like shade, like they're in the shade so they can't grow things. It makes so much sense. It's a really nice game.
Cool. Yeah, I still got to play that one.
Me
Yeah,
too. Mine's been shrink.
It's on the lighter side, but I like it for what it is.
Yeah. So what about you, Eric? What's your biggest surprise and most thematic?
Biggest, I think I would say that I was really surprised just how much I liked Illimat. Like I thought it was going to be solid, but I was really surprised that I was just like quite taken with it. For thematic, I'm gonna break out this heavy jerk. So I Fog of Love is definitely God, it's heavy. It's very theme. The theme is essentially you're playing or like little vignette scenes in a romantic comedy starring you and the other player, who are just whatever characters you come up with, but you have certain traits that influence how you want the relationship to go, and you've got certain goals and certain character quirks or flaws and a job, and all of those inform how you progress through the game, and you sort of role play your characters' interactions in a lot of those scenes. I mean, I played it with Mitch, I played it with Steven, I played it with my friend Lauren. I've played it maybe 4 or 5 times. It's always very weird, but very fun. It's not the kind of game that I would see myself playing a lot normally, but I think it's a really interesting, it's a very important kind of game to exist because it's very sort of off the beaten path of what I normally think about when I think about games. And I'm interested to see what they do with the concept moving forward.
It's so that's a good one, and we did a review of that one, Caryl, and we both had a really good experience with it. I thought we had a lot of fun with it. I think we were a politician and a movie star.
I was basically Seth Rogen because you loved my glasses and my booming voice, and I was, I think, a TV star.
Yeah, and I think I was a politician or something like that. So I think I was channeling my inner Justin Trudeau or something. But yeah,
I just remember having a lot of body hair in like a couple of the games, and just being like, I don't. Why did you do this to me?
I don't know why. I just wanted to go.
Yeah, just give your best Wookiee roar about halfway through the game, and you're just another person's like,
yeah. Wow, I went there. I'm so sorry. And then speaking of the game, sorry, the reason why I jumped in is because I know it kind of has a choose your own adventure feel to it. And the reason why I'm kind of going that way is because, and I think it was your post on Instagram, Eric, where Legacy of Dragonhold, and Suzanne and I had talked about it on the podcast, and she was telling me about it. I'm like, okay, like seriously, I need to get this game. So yeah.
My DM for my Dungeons and Dragons group, she saw one of the tweets about, I think there was a aggressive BGG thread about some aspects of the game's design. She saw the thread and was like, I need to buy this game, bought it on the spot, and we've just been playing it kind of slowly since then. It's a lot of fun. I like how casual it is. I almost like, it's not that I fell asleep because I wasn't having a good time, but I was sort of drifting off while I was playing the game once. But it meant that I could just I could just sort of passively observe the plot and then pop in for major decisions. And I liked that like aspect of it, because normally with sort of role-playing games or like even D&D, you have to take everything pretty seriously. You have to be like active and present. And I liked that it was very relaxed. And that environment I felt was a nice way to get someone in to start off like a more narrative heavy game before transitioning to something like Near and Far, and then maybe something that's a little bit heavier than that.
No, that's great. And I'm glad to hear you talk about it as well. It's always nice to get other opinions. So it's definitely one that Caryl, we need to try or something. So I need to get a hold of it first.
It's a lot of fun.
I showed it to the wrong group. I'm gonna have to try it again with different people.
Wait a second, you have it?
I just saw that I have it.
Oh my goodness.
It's definitely narrative only. So like,
Sorry.
If you're playing with someone who's like, oh, this is going to be like, it's more narrative only than Near and Far. Like, it's just pure narrative.
Text, yeah. Like I was reading passages myself, and I started kind of dozing off, going like, wait, what? What did I just read? And it's like I have to reread it again because it's so text heavy. you have to be. For me, I have to be in the right mood for it. But
Yeah.
Cool. So now next is our Kickstarter, and then we'll go into our favorite game too. So I'll say my favorite Kickstarter last year should be probably Dinosaur Island, but I also put in Yokohama because I really like all the wooden pieces and everything, and just the production of Tasty Minstrel games. Like whenever they deluxify something, it's usually a must buy for me. So Yokohama is my favorite Kickstarter game.
I think for me, my favorite Kickstarter, and it's just for right now, it's going to change probably in a month, but I just played it yesterday, was Empires of the Void 2. I'm really trying to expand the type of games that I'm playing, you know, trying to eventually get to an 18xx and things like that. So Empires of the Void, it falls into that 4x type category. And I'm not usually a big fan of space exploration type games, but I loved the art, first of all, in this game. It's very Ryan Lockett. You can tell this is his game. And I liked the interesting decisions you make. It's not your typical. So I like the fact that they had a follow action. Someone did something, and then we can all take that action or choose not to take that action, but we may not get as much benefit out of it. Little things like that. So some things were familiar to me in like a worker placement type game, but then it still threw in that 4X feel to it. I really enjoyed it so far. The components are fantastic. So Empires of the Void 2, Red Raven Games. That one is probably my Kickstarter that I'm enjoying right now.
Cool.
Yeah, and to jump on Red Raven, mine was definitely near and far of Kickstarter games I have played. Like that one is just like it's got the whole above and below idea, but not so worker placement flesh. It's just kind of got that more narrative drive and like has that campaign too, which I really liked.
Yeah, I mean it's a great Kickstarter year. So
For me, I'll make a hard right turn, talk about games that were on Kickstarter last year and that I got to play but haven't been delivered yet. So I was playing Mars Open Tabletop Golf from Bellwether Games, and it's this sort of, it's like Ice Cool, but more your actual shots matter a lot more because you're playing it more as like a mini golf set on the table. It's very good. It's the exact kind of game that's perfect for me. The only thing that made me upset about it is that I had to pass the preview copy on to the next reviewer because I was just like, it's so good. And then I was playing a sort of an RPG called Dialect. It's about building a language and the destruction or dissolution of that language. Played it with Joe Sundow, and I played it, and then I was sad for the entire rest of the day, which I think is about the highest praise I could give it, because it was just like very sad. Very good, but very sad.
I had heard of that one actually, so it looked interesting. And Eric Lang's wife, Sonia Lang, I know she does work with kind of languages you see in type of like, you know, Dothraki, Game of Thrones, that sort of thing in movies and TV and stuff. And I'd be curious to see her thoughts on something like that. So I'm going to jump into the chat. Jeremy mentioned Spirit Island and Fate of the Elder Gods, and then also mentioned Fable Nexus as well.
I have Fate of the Elder Gods sitting in shrink on my couch. Think Geek had a huge sale, so I picked it up. Looking forward to trying it.
Yeah, and I think I wasn't here for it, but Michael did a playthrough as well. So if you're just wanting a quick idea of how to play, there you go.
Cthulhu games aren't normally my like personal cup of tea for a variety of H.P. Lovecraft reasons, but
yeah, we won't go there, Eric. Not today.
Different chat.
Not today.
So now finally our favorite game of the year. So I'm interested to find out what you guys think is your favorite game of the year. I don't want to go first though. So who wants to go first?
I can go because
okay.
There were two. Too Many Bones was on. I did a top 10. Was up there as one of my top games because I just have such a good time playing it. It's really, really great. And I love the whole RPG aspect to it. I really enjoyed it. However, it might have been knocked off by Heaven and Ale had I played Heaven and Ale before. I actually really enjoyed Heaven and Ale. So as of right now, Heaven and Ale would have been my favorite of 2017.
Wow. Okay. I got to try that one. So who wants to go next? Eric?
I'll go next, but I love both my children the same. Like between Near and Far and Soul, I'm just like, they're both very good for very different reasons. I'm probably going to give the edge to Near and Far because Near and Far is like the honed perfection of the genre. Like he took lessons from, like I said, Above and Below and Islebound and combined them into a game that is, I think, a shining example of both of them. Soul, though, I would say watch that spot, because if this is the first game from that company on Kickstarter, if they keep pushing out games of that quality, they're going to be a real group to watch out for, because Soul is just a hell of a game.
Right.
All right, and I guess I'll go next and say Azul was my favorite game of 2017. Just so cutthroat, which, you know, I have to have. A small twist on like drafting, which, you know, you could leave someone with all the blue tiles that they didn't want and it all falls to the floor and, oh, well, negative points. And of course, it's beautiful to look at. It's so accessible. Like it was good all around. It hit every point for me.
Yeah, that was a good one. I enjoyed that one quite a bit, and I find it does play a bit more cutthroat at 2 versus playing with 4.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
My absolute truth of how much of a cave I live in is that I still have not yet played Azul.
You will.
I'm bringing it over for your birthday.
I was at BGG Con the whole time, and it was like, oh, I could go play Azul, or I could go play this game that I liked less.
Oh, no.
Well, that hot table was always full. Like, it was really hard to get in, too.
Yeah. I wish I lived closer to all of you, because I legitimately have all of these things in my house. So it's like, here, borrow this. I'm going to jump to the chat quickly. I know we're going to wrap up shortly, but Jeremy mentioned his favorite game was Too Many Bones and Gloomhaven as a tie. And Meeple Overboard mentioned Charterstone, but they picked up Pandemic Legacy Season 2, so they'll see.
I have some emotions about Pandemic Legacy Season 2, but that requires a couple charts, some graphs, a diagram, and about like 30 spoiler okay minutes of people's time, so a different chat.
Yeah, we're gonna need another chat for just a variety of topics, I think.
Right.
I just have a lot of feelings about Season 2.
Oh, no.
Cool. I'll go ahead and just state my favorite game of the year, which is probably no surprise to anyone at this point. It's Altiplano. So
Yeah.
it's my favorite by far game just because of the theme alone. I'm a farmer and I freaking have alpacas. And yeah, I mean, what can go wrong with that? And then it's a bag builder. It's location, like worker type placement, I guess, resource placement. I mean, everything I loved about Orleans, but in the setting of an alpaca farmer. Like, I just love it. There's so many great things about it. And that first player marker is actually the same size as Gizmo, and they're best friends. So yeah, it's just everything's adorable about that game. I love it. But I don't know what you guys think, if you've played it at all, or
I have it. I love it. Not actually for me. I actually prefer it over Orleans. So I actually prefer Altiplano. I do find at higher player counts, it can drag a little bit in time. But I actually still really, really enjoyed the game. I think on my top 10, it was at 3 or 4. So yeah,
Cool.
It's definitely one that I will be keeping and playing again.
All right. So that is it. That's the end of our chat. So yeah, if you want to go ahead and let us know where we can find you online, once again, we'll go ahead and start with you, Mandi.
Sure.
And, yeah. So where can we find you?
Find me here on the YouTube channel To Die For Games. You can also hear me on the Dice Tower podcast every 2 weeks with Suzanne Sheldon. We also do a monthly Q&A on the Dice Tower as well. You can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, under Board Gaming Pinup Girl or Board Gamer Pinup Girl, depending on where you go. I'm also on Tumblr and Twitch.
Cool. And what about you, Eric?
So I'm What's Eric Playing. You can find me on my site, what'sericplaying.com. I'm in the Punchboard Media Network, so I'll occasionally be popping around there. If you yell, I need to talk to someone about Ice Cool on Twitter, you can usually find me just like hanging out talking about penguins. But I'm What's E Playing on Twitter. I'm What's Eric Playing on Instagram. I don't really have a YouTube presence outside of a YouTube series where I taste tested Nintendo Switch cartridges, but that was it. They're all bad. It's very important that I just state how bad they are, but you should try it. Maybe it's not going to poison you, as far as I know.
It's not a Tide Pod after all.
Right.
I got the Nintendo Switch challenge. I didn't really do the Tide Pod challenge.
Don't do it,
Anyways,
Eric. Please don't.
why do they look so delicious in that? Yeah, that's
what
me
about
my
you,
life.
Caryl? Where can we find you?
Yeah, so you can find
Hopefully
me
not
here.
eating Tide Pods.
No. even if I did, I wouldn't tell you the channel I would be on. But you can find me here on To Die For doing some video reviews with Mandi. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram as @CarylHasNoTan.
Cool. I love your Twitter handle. And me, you could find me. I'm Annette, known as Nettersplays online, Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. Also YouTube channel, and I'm a contributor for the Board Game Breakfast for the Dice Tower. So yeah, and you could just find me all over there. If you want to talk board games, just I'm always open to that. So also, if you want to just leave a comment down below and let us know what your favorite game is too. We can always interact that way after this live chat. So let us know what your favorite game is. And thanks everyone for joining in and chatting with us. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Caryl and Mandi.
That's it. Yeah. So
All
thanks
right.
everyone, and we'll see you hopefully in a month's time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.